going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 1116 of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Christian Pyle. Such a special show live from Austin, Texas. To my right, James Dean Rader. To the left, Andrew Spey. To the left, Tyler Meisinger, our Michigan man. And joining us from State College, Pennsylvania, he's a four-time NCAA champion. He's a Hodge Trophy winner, multiple world titles, two-time Olympic bronze medalist, Kyle Dake. Kyle, welcome to the show. How are you doing this morning?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing great. So thrilled to have you on and catch up with you. It's been a little bit since we last caught up, and now that the NCAA season is behind us, just kind of wanted to hear from you, find out what you've been up to, and more importantly, what your plans are for the future. So maybe catch us up from the Olympics to now, what you've been up to.
2024 was just a crazy year for me, just with my dad and the Olympics, and my son fell sick for a little while, and business, David leaving. There's a lot of things that were going on, and just trying to play catch up a little bit with all of that. And obviously it didn't take too long to figure that out, and just great support here, which is really nice. So just running a business, being a dad, had another child. Actually, that's probably the biggest thing in 2024. A little girl named Evie, and baby's great, mom's great. Just turned three months, so she's still young, cooing, having a good time. And I've been helping out at Penn State a lot, and just like trying to help those guys and watch film, and just give a little 2 cents here and there, and just do my best to help them achieve their goals. And most of the reason is because they help me achieve my goals, 9-10 months out of the year. I figure 2 months isn't too bad to try to help them out,
Yeah, I saw you in the stands. Looked like you were having a good time. You were into every match. What's it like sitting in the Penn State section, watching, maybe debatably, undebatably, the greatest team of all time do its thing?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was sitting with right in front, right behind the parents, and then also next to the coaches. And it was interesting because that we had that one round where that first day where it was just like really, really good, and the second day was kind of an anomaly. It's interesting what momentum can do in a tournament like that. I know you're not a momentum guy, but it does play a factor kind of on the back end. I remember in 2018. David went out first, and he was just a wrecking ball. He went out and he was just crushing everybody. I was like, dude, I got to keep up with this guy. Like, let's go. And so that was always kind of fun to have your teammates there doing great things. And you're like, okay, well, I wrestle great with this guy all the time, and why can't I go out and just tech fall everybody? So, and then the reverse is true too, at least seemingly. Hopefully not. Hopefully you can be good enough to pull your team out of that. But and then the last day was really cool. I was a little disappointed with how they put Carter first. I didn't like that at all. I thought that was I didn't think that was okay. I think there was probably something behind there. Just didn't think he should be put out like that.
Yeah. What do you think they should have done there? What do you think they should have done with
just run it normal? Especially, you have a huge name in Gable at the end, win or lose, he's a huge draw, and then to finish it like that is kind of crazy. And, I think I heard something like they were trying to, be able to talk about Carter, but you can talk about Carter the whole time leading up to that. You have 7 other weight classes that you can talk about Carter. Obviously you want to talk about the guys who are competing, but, anyway, so, and I'm not a producer. I don't know what goes into ESPN or how they host a huge event like that. But I just thought Carter should have got more of his flowers, and it was history. So, but yeah. Anyway, so Penn State, being up in the stands with them is really cool. But at the same time, you're feeling for all the parents at the same time. There's eight sets of parents that were there that their son didn't accomplish their goal. And, you kind of feel that, you feel those losses a little bit harder. You feel those wins a little bit more, which is kind of fun. Just trying to make sure that everyone can kind of keep a level head out there, but we want the fans to be a little rough and rowdy. And, I think one of the interesting pieces this year was that Penn State usually, I remember Penn State just getting the roars, all the time. And then when they lost, it seemed like it was even bigger roars. So that was that. And talking to some of the people that were there, they were like, that's kind of the first time that, it felt like the crowd was almost against you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah, that was the first time I had noticed that as well. Being around the team, your name often gets thrown out, as did David's prior to him taking the Oklahoma State job. Potential coaches. Does being around the team make you want to become a college coach more, less, unchanging? Have you thought about that at all?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been thinking about coaching since I graduated college. I mean, I coached after college. I was volunteer. I still wanted to compete, but I really enjoyed working one on one with guys and being able to like really help them. But that's just the coaching piece. There's other things that go on in terms of being a coach. There's alumni, there's phone calls, recruiting, NIL. There's so much that goes into it. Um, but it's kind of like, what is it worth it? Is it worth being a part of being a head coach of a program like that? Or, is there other things that I want to do in my life? And for a long time, I wanted to just be a head coach. And then after, being an athlete for such a long time and having a family, it was like, man, I don't know. I know what it takes to be a really good coach, having been around Coach Rob Cole, Mike Gray, and now Coach Kale. It's just like they're always on. They're never having a time to take a break, or
Yeah.
they're never really having, an off day, which is kind of tricky when you have young kids. At least in my mind, I want to be there for them. I want to be there for my wife, and yeah, I think that there's obviously some positives to it, but there's also some drawbacks as well. And um, for a long time, I thought I was going to be the head coach of Cornell Wrestling. I thought I was going to do that. That was my goal. After I graduated, I wanted to be a head coach. I wanted to be in Ithaca forever. And, life happens and things change. And now I'm in State College.
Yeah, and switching gears maybe a little bit, but thinking about competitive career, it's something you've been in the throes of for years. Where are you at
Mhm.
with competition? Do you still? It seems like you still intend on competing. What are your plans for this freestyle season now that the NCAA season is behind us? The U.S. Open, World Team Trials, Final X are coming in a few short months.
Yeah. It's definitely, I've kind of made the decision I want to compete. Um, and how that looks, I'm not sure. So whether that be, at first it was like, well, do I want to go 1 year at a time? And that's something Bruce Baumgartner really recommended. He's like, hey, I competed for a really long time and I had a lot of success, but I only took it one tournament at a time. Like I never really committed to anything further than that. And I was just always in the room trying to be the best I could be, but I just knew I was going to wrestle that next tournament. And he's like, obviously it's a lot different then than it is now, but if I have any advice for you, it would be that, like, take it one tournament at a time. So um, I like played with that for a while, and then I was like, man, if I'm going to commit to this thing, I got to commit to it. So um, I felt like 4 years wasn't too long in the grand scheme of things. By the time LA rolls around, I'll be 37, 27. I'm reverse aging,
You
so
might be though.
maybe 20. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
possible.
Um, but I just had a really I had a really difficult time making 74. Last year was definitely the worst training year I've ever had. Could never get anything going. Was always other priorities for me, and I'm fine with it. I'm happy with how I competed. I'm happy with how I wrestled. Obviously, if I don't get my ankles crossed up, then I'll probably get a different result. But hats off to Takatani, and just go out and do your best is really the lesson I taught my kids. They were crying and going nuts after the Olympics. They were really upset that I lost. And I was like, hey, it's okay. I just made a mistake and that happens. Like, just pick yourself up and go get the next one. And so, yeah. And then making 74 has just been kind of a meat grinder for me. And that's why I haven't competed as much as I did when I was at 79. And it was just it was a lot harder for me to like really um, get the number of competitions that I wanted in, and just the way that it's set up. I think that having a medalist sit out the final X. Like in theory, it makes a lot of sense, and we've had success with it. But when it used to be, you sit out on the same day, I always had a problem with that. And now sitting out, but you get an extra day, I'm like, okay, I can understand that. And I see what USA Wrestling is trying to do. They're trying to put the best team out there. I don't know if any other country does that, but we're not any other country either. So, and we're juggling different things with NCAA athletes. We have high school kids who are being, potentially pushing for
Yeah.
world team spots. So, and just the way our system is set up is just different. And but yeah, so I think that for me, I want to compete the next 4 years and just go out and be the best I can be. So I think one of the things that's been really helpful here at Penn State is just like putting the important things first. And I think I did that last year, and really embodied that and try to go out and score points. And I did that. I probably scored more points at the Olympics and that tournament than I had any other time in my career. So
Yeah.
obviously mistakes happen, but you learn from them.
Yeah. So as you look for the next 4 years, you talked about the weight cut. I've interviewed multiple times after World Championships and trials, and the weight is always kind of one of the first things top of mind for you. It's really difficult. As you look at weight class for this year, what are you thinking?
Well, apparently there's been some meetings going on with UWW, potentially talking about weight changes and talking about uh, weight weigh-in times being different.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing set in stone to figure that out, and I don't know when there'll be an answer. So I think that's probably going to determine what I end up doing. And hopefully we get an answer quickly. I don't know if you guys have heard the same thing, but it was the first time I heard about it at NCAA. So, um, I thought I had my mind made up, and now it's like, well, if things change, then we'll see.
Yeah, so I had heard that at the Olympics that they were considering changing weigh-in timing, right? Which I assume is what you heard as well at NCAAs.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I assume that those changes would not be coming this year if they hadn't announced them yet. But if
Sure.
you're definitely more plugged in than I am on something like this. So it sounds like if they change the weigh-in procedure, timing, whatever, you would consider going back down to 74. If they're as is, you would go up. My question is
Mm-hmm.
it 79 where you're a multiple world champion? Is it 86 where you've made the Olympic trials finals? Which weight do you think it would be if they don't change the weigh-in rules?
Yeah, if they keep it the same, if it's a 2 hour weigh-in, like either weight, honestly, would be fine with me. Um, just trying to figure out what's best at the Open or at trials. I think I qualify for trials anyway. So, and I'm honestly hoping to hear this week on like what happens.
Yeah.
So I don't really have like a specific answer. Um, but in 2016, when it was night before weigh-ins, I weighed 177 pounds and wrestled 86 kilos. So I feel like I can wrestle with those big guys. Obviously, we have some really, really good young talent in the U.S. at 86 and at 79. But yeah, honestly, just waiting. I thought I was going to give you an answer until NCAAs because you've been asking for a couple weeks. But after NCAAs hearing that, I was like, well, maybe we slow our roll for a second.
Yeah, well, the suspense will be make it all the more exciting when we do find out. Because there is a time where you'll have to know, and we'll all get to know. So that's just
Mm.
fine. How much coordination on weight class? Is there any internal discussion? Hey, we got this guy at this weight, this person at that weight. If we slot you in at 79, that'd be perfect, or 86, whatever. How is that a conversation you guys would have?
Yeah, I think the coaches just want all of us in one weight class. They would rather just have every single one of our guys wrestle the same weight,
Hmm.
so that we don't have to worry about other people. We'll just do it at Penn State, and we'll just wrestle here
Oh,
and make the
okay.
world team that way. Um, no, I mean, obviously there's considerations. We just have so many guys here that are high level that can compete, at a world stage, and you just run into that. We've had that for a while. I moved in and caused a lot of that rippling, and then also Coach Kale and company have developed the guys and made it so that they are world class, and that's something that that's, you're a victim of your own success in that way. So yes, there's been times, but you never know what happens, with injuries and people who, aren't feeling good, or, coming off of a big tournament like the NCAAs, like what's going to happen, and that sort of thing. So we've definitely talked about it. But again, no real concrete answers. Like, hey, it would be nice to have 10 guys on the world team. And we have a lot of good talent that could potentially do that. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun to be in that room and just learn and test yourself. And even when you're wrestling a guy who's not a starter, you're wrestling age group world champions, age group world medalists, and so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. You have a Hodge Trophy vote, being a Hodge Trophy winner.
Mm-hmm.
Would you disclose who you voted for? Is that something you would want to discuss, or?
Yeah, yeah, I voted for Carter. I thought that just the history of everything, his bonus rate, he beat Parker coming back twice, which is pretty impressive. Obviously, what Wyatt did was really impressive as well, and a lot of bonus at the same time. I think I heard JD mention something about like a takedown that Wyatt gave up, and that swung my vote instantly.
I thought that was crazy too. That's so funny.
Butterfly effect.
My son didn't know that I voted for Carter. I told him yesterday, hey, I didn't even mention, we're announcing that Brian Van Clay is going to be on the end of this show. We're going to announce the Hodge Trophy winner. So I was telling him that. He's like, cool. And he wants Wyatt to win. And I told him I vote for Carter. And that was like, for all the hate I got on Twitter, nothing hurt worse than Caleb just basically berating me, being like, what are you talking about? So yeah, I not an easy decision, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. People think I know who's gonna win. People think that me having that the announcement on Flow is like some indication that it's gonna be Carter. I do not know, and of course, that has nothing to do with it. And we're all gonna find out together, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always a fun thing that we're able to talk about wrestling, college wrestling, even after the NCAAs, and just have so much press that we got, which I think probably sways a lot of people towards Wyatt, because he did something that, all of you on this show thought was unthinkable,
Yeah.
and I knew that there was a chance. It's hard when you go away for 2 years, and you're wrestling a guy who's been locked in for that whole time. And when you're Gable, you can kind of do whatever you want, because you're just a super freak athlete, and you've proved that going to the NFL and wrestling at the Olympics and being Olympic champion. So obviously he's really, really good. And had he been completely locked in, he's just really good. I think he's really good. And for a long time in the room, we thought Greg could be the guy that would do a similar strategy that Wyatt had. And then it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to do that. But yeah, it's just, you got to go wrestle. I mean, Shane Sparks, he loves to talk about this. It's like, anybody can lose on any day. That's why we wrestle.
That's exactly right, Kyle. Well said. Give me a sense, your day-to-day, what's it like? And more specifically, who are the guys that you're kind of find yourself training with on a consistent basis at Penn State?
I wrestle with Mitchell every Monday. We call it Mitch Mondays, and that's just kind of our time that we always go. So I spend a lot of time with him. I mean, he wrestles with everybody, but I wrestle a lot with the Mirasola brothers, Zach Ryder, Josh Barr. Earlier in the year, I was wrestling more with Levi, and then Kyle and Jake and Kale. I've been wrestling with before Aaron had to take some time off the mat. I was wrestling with him a decent amount. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many partners that you can go with, and just being able to kind of pick your poison every day is fun.
So Ono is coming to Penn State. He's going to be on the Penn State wrestling team. I've got to know. Everyone laughs when they hear about Masa. I think he's the funniest guy. But I want to know from your perspective, how difficult will the process of getting him up to speed in some of the nuances of folk style be for someone like Masa?
He won't have a problem.
That's how I feel.
No, I mean, he's he's just so good, and he's so strong. Um, it's, I mean, yeah, I just think that when you're at that level, it's just a little bit different. Um, like, yeah, he's really, really good.
Yeah. If you're the all right,
He's going
you're
to be, I mean, I don't know anything really about it. Like, I don't know, when he's going to be able to compete. Like, I don't know anything, and I don't know that there's much information out there. Um, Obviously we want to get him here as soon as possible and have him around because he's a lot of fun to have around. He's just always laughing and asking funny questions like why we cut our pants. So that's
how funny was
that's
that?
always a great bit. It was
Now
so
you
great.
now you bullied him in dodgeball. I think we have
Oh
video
yeah, big
evidence of
time,
this. Big time bully.
big time, big time. Yeah, any new guy that comes in and plays dodgeball, they got to take their licks. I mean, when I first came in, I don't think I stood up for the first month and a half. I think I was just on the ground trying to claw my way in and learn strategy. So, um, Masa actually won a game. He was the first guy to come in and win a game, like within I don't know how many times he played, but
Wow.
yeah, he won a game, and it was like pretty legit too. We had some good players in there.
Yeah, it wasn't. There's no handouts. You're not throwing any games to make a guest feel better, is what you're telling me.
No, not even a little bit. We'll actually do the opposite and bully them.
Yeah, I'm looking at this clip right now. It looks like you guys agreed to throw the ball at the same guy, and then you just threw it at him anyways.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. If anybody comes in and wants to play, just know that there will be backstabbing in dodgeball.
Okay. Well, that's very important to know. Kyle, you sent me the trailer for the Dake doc. We have been watching you and Greg create this masterpiece for over a decade, since 2012, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us an update on the Dake doc, where it's at, what the latest is on that? We're gonna play the trailer at the kind of the very end of this before we let you get back to your day, but just fill us in on what's been going on with the Dake doc.
Yeah, the Dake doc's really cool. As much as it's about me, it's about Greg too. Listening to him, how he kind of got the gig was pretty funny. And he retold the story recently, so it's fresh in my mind. But he was he wrestled at NYU. He's from New York, from Long Island, and he produced like a web series. And there was a guy from California who was trying to do a story on Adam Fry and his battle with cancer and coming back, and they also were planning on doing a film about me. And Rob, kind of in his Rob Cole and his ways, kind of figured out how to get Greg up here, and they were going to put him in a motel and leave him there for a day, make him go back and forth, and then there's a closet basically that we had in the wrestling house, and Greg just like moved in, found a mattress, and got a curtain rod, and he was with us, to get all of those moments my senior year. But the caveat was that Greg had no idea how to run a camera, so he was just like figuring it out as he went, and he would, he'll tell the story differently too, just like how he had to figure out how to get me to spill my guts basically, and if there was any like breaks or anything like that, there would be it was just inauthentic. So he's trying to capture something that was authentic to me, organic, and we could really just have something special. And so 2013 happened, and I won, and try to put a bow on it. And the guy who technically owned the footage, who funded the whole project, he just sat on it for a while. And Greg was like going through it and trying to figure out like rough cuts and that sort of thing. And came back up, got interviews, and was going around and trying to get B-roll and all of these different things. And but again, so he's like, well, I'll just go with him to compete at the World Team Trials, and we'll see how that goes. And then follow me around for a little bit longer. And then I got injured, so he was like, well, let's get this too. Like, you're still trying to make World and Olympic teams, and we don't have a film yet, and I can't really do anything. I'm not an editor. So he's like, I can film. I'm learning how to do that, and I'm getting better at it. And so it really just like kind of snowballed and became a thing. It was supposed to be a 1-year project, and it became a 12-year project. It just became something bigger than we ever thought. And, just my story of, facing adversity with injuries and, having to go up against Jordan and having to, deal with all sorts of different pieces of my life. He just felt it was a pretty compelling story, and trying to go through the nitty gritty of like figure out different things that could potentially help me make that, 1% better. And because honestly, in 2016, I was contemplating retiring and ended up obviously not doing that, thankfully, and, came back, and the rest is kind of history. And, just there's a lot of really cool pieces on my end too to see, because I can give it to my kids, but also to see what Greg has done and who he has become as a videographer, and not only a videographer, a producer. And, he's done some incredible work. And, the fact that he put most of his trips on credit cards and was just paying off credit card debt so he could film this thing. And, just sleeping on floors and in the hallway and just getting different places and figuring it out, just showed the grit that any wrestler would have. So it's a story about me, but there's also an element of, the story about Greg and who he has become. And it's just, I think it's really, really special.
No question. And my question is, what is the time frame for it? Are you still filming it? I mean, you just said here on this show, you plan to wrestle till 2028. Will that be contained in the Dake doc, or is it kind of concluding around the Paris Olympic Games?
I think it's probably concluding around the Paris Olympic Games. Obviously we didn't get what we wanted with the gold medal, and but it just became a story not just about winning gold medals. It just really is a wrestling story, and it's also just a story of who I am and who I've become and the way I think. I think a lot of that is very valuable to the everyday person. Whether you're a CEO and running a Fortune 500 company, or if you're a stay-at-home mom, there's something that you can learn from my failures and from my successes. And I like to think that I have a pretty decent filter of information, and that's really what I feel like my story is about. Like, how do I filter different information? How do I take it in, test it out on myself, and then give it back to everybody? It's funny because now you see all these wrestlers walking around without their shirts on outside trying to get sunshine. It's like, oh well, where did that come from? And I was one of the first guys to do that. And obviously I don't take all the credit for it because there's a lot of information out there now, but just saying like, oh, if Kyle does this, then maybe I should look into it. So that's kind of the cool part, because I know what it's done for me. I've known what, all these different things that I've done to help improve my life just as a person, not also as a wrestler, but as a person first. And seeing the benefit that it's had on my kids, benefit it has on my wife, my parents, like just everything. So I think it's pretty cool just to encapsulate all of that and give it to somebody. So 2024 is going to be the end in Paris. And then we'll obviously pick up, we're kind of in post-production now, so we'll pick up interviews along the way. But we're hoping to release it before the NCAA championships next year. Kind of just like hit that time frame
Awesome.
of when wrestling is like, buzzing the most. And so we're trying to raise some funds so that we can get the finishing touches with editing, to get licensing, mixing and mastering, all the things that I don't know anything about.
It is expensive, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So our goal right now is to raise $215,000, and I think that'll get us to where we're pretty close with what's needed. And at least that's what Greg is telling me. So I'm doing whatever I can to help him with that. And like I said, I mean, it's his baby. It really is. It's about me, but it's his. And I want to help him in any way that I can. And even if it's just about getting the message out there. And I appreciate you guys, allowing me to come on here and talk about it. But I think it's a really special story, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it.
Of course. And for listeners of the show, we're going to have a link. If you want to donate, there's an Indiegogo link. We're going to put that in the show notes so that you can give. Would love to see the The donations go sky high for you here.
And there's
on
like
the
different
show.
tiers, you know, like if you're a club or something, and you want like a private clinic, like you could donate something like that. Or if you want a Zoom call or just talk to me or come to the premiere, there's all sorts of different tiers that, you know, might entice people to give. And yeah, we're just super thankful that, you know, the wrestling community is wants to be a part of this, and you know, we want to give it back to you guys in the best way that we can. And you know, I think, like I said, I think it's gonna be really special, and just thank you guys for telling your listeners.
Awesome. Well, that's really cool. I want to show, you know, hearing about it gets me fired up, but I watched the trailer. It's awesome. I want everyone else to see it and get excited about it, and then everyone can hit that Indiegogo link. But let's watch the film, and we'll come back with Kyle Dake. But first, the trailer.
He was 4. 3 weeks from being 5. He wanted to wrestle in a tournament. In the first match he wrestled, he lost. And he hated losing.
State champion.
Kyle Dake trying to make history. For the first time ever, we have a 4-time champ in 4 different weight classes. Kyle Dake.
The problem is, you gotta beat one of the best wrestlers in the history of the sport.
Gold around his neck, Jordan Burroughs, an Olympic champion.
2011 through 2017, there was one guy that he needed to beat, Jordan Burroughs.
Kyle Dake dealt with injuries since the 2013 World Team Trials.
Jordan Burroughs remains king.
Back in 2013, someone asked you, what's it going to take to beat the best wrestler in the world later on this evening in the finals of the trials? You said, I am the best wrestler in the world. And then I proved that you weren't. And I continuously proved that you weren't every single time we've competed. So regardless of how many people you wrestled early on the day, regardless of how much science you have on your side, I'm a competitor and I'm going to be prepared.
I don't know why I can't get my body healthy. Something's missing, and hopefully we find it soon.
Feels uncomfortable? You need to suffocate more than that. I kid you not, I think Kyle's probably been operating at about half his potential. And that's a crazy thing when you think about it.
Kyle, he has a different awareness, man. He's a different animal, straight up.
I
know him a lot. He's been the guy who's been standing in the way, and I need to go get it.
He doesn't really show it. He's a super tough guy, but you could just tell he was carrying a little extra pressure.
His loss in his second bout was shocking. He got beaten 11-zip.
I have to operate within the confines of feeling respected and not disrespected, and what he did was disrespectful.
There's some sacrifices that I just won't make anymore. I mean, my kids are way more important than a gold medal.
And it has been a challenging couple of weeks for Dake.
Megan called me and said, hey, I just talked to your mom. Your dad's not doing well. He's in the emergency department right now, basically going into organ failure.
Off the mat, his dad, Doug, passing away a little over a week ago at age 62. And he'll head back to another Olympics for the United States, Kyle Dake.
It's finally going to happen. And now we're going to know. We're going to know who the best in the world is at 74 kilograms. Is it Kyle Dake? Is he the best in the world?
Say hi. And strong.
Man, that looks incredible. Kyle, you obviously opened yourself up to some, this is not just a wrestling story, as you said, but some deeply personal moments. Was that a tough decision? Was that a tough aspect of the process to go through? That Greg is, you know, who obviously you two have grown very close over the years, but just to have that level of access, knowing that, hey, a lot of people are going to see this. How did you go through that process?
It kind of just became a part of my life, you know. In 2012, you know, he was just with me, you know, and it was kind of like he was just always there, and he was a fly on the wall, and he was just capturing these moments, and it was pretty cool that you know, I could go back and see some of it, and really I wanted something I'd give my kids, you know, and I was just like, all right, well, you know, and however many years, you know, so in 2013, 14, it was like however many years I'm going to be able to, you know, pass this along to my children, and they're going to see it, and they're going to see who their dad was, and so that was really important for me. It was, and the project is mostly for me, you know, and obviously I want to share it with as many people as we can. But, you know, I think from a selfish standpoint, being able to have those intimate moments and learn from them, as one of the main reasons that I wanted to keep Greg around. And I thought it was just a really incredible story, and, you captured every single part of my life from, getting reconstructive surgery to heart surgery to having a kid, to getting married, to everything. So, it was a not really a difficult decision for me to make, because he was just always there, and he was kind of like a part of my family. He was one of my friends, and he just happened to be carrying a camera around, and knew how to put me in the best light that I could be in.
Awesome. Well, I know JD's got some questions before we let you go, so kick it over to your friend JD Raider.
Yeah, I had a couple.
Well, hold on. JD's got his burpees first. What's that about?
That's true.
Well, hey, I'm a man of my word. I said I would have done the burpees because background, Kyle said he would come on if I did 1,000 burpees in a day, to which I agreed to. But then all of a sudden, yesterday, I get a message from CPA, Kyle's coming on. I didn't know. I would have done them. You just said, hey, by this day,
You may have just snitched on yourself, because I told Kyle you did 3,000. So we could be in big trouble here.
But hey,
well,
I will do the burpees.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see the video of that, and I'd like to see Spay hit like 7 of them too.
7?
He's got that
like
all day.
7, I think I can handle.
He's a
Thank you
fast
for
quick
taking it easy on me, by the way, and not making me do as many as JD.
No, but
Tyler should be able to hit like 5,000 because he's an athlete.
True.
He's a state qualifier.
JD's in better shape than I am these days, probably. I run I run 2 miles. That's my limit.
That's pretty good. I'm much better at just burps than burpees.
Real fit, real junky.
Oh, there we go.
No, but you mentioned you didn't get.
Sorry for cutting you off, JD.
You're good. You mentioned you didn't get to compete as much as you wanted to last year. What's kind of your ideal number of competitions you're getting in a year?
Really, it's just number of matches. If I can get anywhere from like 23 to 33 matches in a year, I feel pretty, like a 12-month period. I feel pretty good about that. I mean, obviously that includes the World Championships, the Pan Ams, trials, qualifiers, whatever else. But yeah, like I said, it was really difficult for me to hit those numbers, especially last year. I mean, last year was just an anomaly for me. But even in 23 and 22 was different. And then, I mean, honestly, COVID and then the shortened year. And I mean, it was just like, I feel like it's just been such a wild thing, and just everyone's been having to adapt and be a little bit different than what we did, prior to 2020.
Mm-hmm. And then did you ever supplement, maybe getting down to weight or plus 2 kilos or something, getting a couple matches in the room if you weren't able to travel overseas and get matches in, or if it didn't fit in with your personal schedule?
I mean, it was so taxing on my body. It didn't really make sense for me to try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It really did take a toll on me. It was, and I did it my way, and then I did it, with the Penn State people and Coach Calvita out in training lab. And it was still really, I mean, it was just difficult. It was just a really hard thing. And then having to like get all those nutrients back, and you just get depleted at a certain level. And the 2-hour weigh-in's a lot different than a 18-hour weigh-in, a lot different than a 36-hour weigh-in. So, obviously if it was fighting and I had 36 hours, it would be a little bit different. I have no interest in fighting, but unless it's JD. But
whoa,
ooh, it sounds like it's on site.
Just kidding.
Let's do it.
You are someone who continues to always evolve on the mat, off the mat, training, diet, etc. What is the latest thing you have kind of added to whatever area of your life has been that you think has made a difference?
I don't know, like just being here, having the great training partners, understanding Coach Kale's philosophy, and really trying to implement that is, really something special. And it makes a big difference. It does. And from a diet standpoint, I've become a lot less fixated on the food, a lot less fixated on certain aspects, and kind of just enjoying the moment, and keeping the first things first rather than trying to be everywhere at once. And So yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's a physical thing. I think probably more of a philosophy type shift.
Do you think athletes, and maybe you haven't experienced this, can become too fixated on their way, their ritual, their diet, where you have to kind of be able to adapt, like you said, where it's better to be in the moment, and if something doesn't go the way you exactly wanted it to, that's going to be fine?
Yeah, I mean, if you focus on the wrong things and you fixate on the wrong things, then yeah, like if you're fixated on scoring points, if you're fixated on, your place in this universe, if you're fixated on, how you carry yourself, I feel like that is something that it's okay to be fixated on, to some degree. And, I mean, it's always dose dependent. So if you, do too much and you're unwilling to, let's say like unwilling to compete on a Sunday, but the, Olympic finals are on a Sunday, like that's, that I wouldn't do that, I don't think. But yeah, I think that there's just some people survive and when they're young or in college by having these rituals, and I think, well, I have to hit this the exact same way, this warm up or this whatever, and in order to win, in order to be good, you have to check those boxes, and sometimes that's good. You want to check the boxes to make sure your body's warm and you're ready to go and you blew your lungs out and that sort of thing. But when we become, too fixated on it, it really does kind of attack your nervous system, because if you can't be adaptable and one thing goes wrong, then everything is off.
Last one for you. You are extremely well read. I want to know the book that has made the biggest impact in your life.
Probably to date, I'm currently reading one that I think is probably going to surpass this, but to date, I mean, the Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin is really good. That was one of the first books that I really got into. I've listened to the audiobook a bunch of times too. That's a really good one. That's probably the first one that comes to mind as being a really good.
What's got potential to surpass it?
The Bible.
That makes sense.
Amen. Awesome.
That's all I got for you. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah,
Cool.
Absolutely. Man, this has been great, Kyle. Really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come and share a little bit with us. It sounds like we'll be seeing you on the mat at some point soon. Could be open trials, Final X. We'll find out very soon. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we let you go?
Just super thankful for all the people who support me, all the sponsors, all the people who have been behind me and helped me along the way, and people that have maybe I'm not in contact with anymore, but have helped me on this journey. Just super thankful for all of you and all the fans, and you guys in the media. You take a lot of crap, almost as much as the refs take. You guys are taking a lot, so. Just thank you for continuing to do what you do. And yeah, also thank you to my wife. I know she won't watch this, definitely will not watch this, but maybe if we clip that part out, she'll see it. But yeah, family, friends, everyone who's been around, just really thankful for everyone.
Awesome. Thankful for you, Kyle. Truly appreciate your time. Appreciate you. Can't wait to watch you on the mat again soon, and cannot wait for the Dake doc. You can check out the link in the show notes. We're going to put it everywhere.
It's in the description right now.
In the description right now, according to Tyler. So this is already happening. Kyle Dake, thank you so much, and we'll be seeing you soon. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kyle. See ya. Oh, man. What a start to the show. Yeah, a round of applause for Kyle Dake, of course. The legend himself stepping in. And, man, it sounds like he kind of knew what he was going to do, and then maybe a little rule change. And I had not heard the weigh-in changes thing since the Olympics, right? So, but these guys are all connected. He's not operating on, we hear all this stuff, right? He's hearing it from someone that is connected to something that's
in those meetings.
Yeah, that's in those meetings. So
I wonder if coming from the message boards.
I wonder if he's hearing that the time after the weigh-in might be shortened, like from 2 hours to 1 hour.
No.
Or something.
No.
Because when you asked him, I don't think he's.
No,
I don't
2
think
hours is bad for him. He said 2 hours is really bad for him.
He said 2 hours he might stay at 74.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he just said. He said I could go 74 or 79 if it stays at 2 hours. He said if it stays at 2 hours, I could go 74 or 79.
Christian asked him, would you go 79 or 86? And if he says it stays the same,
No,
either
before
way,
that, he said, I will find it.
Chat, what'd you say?
He said if it stays at 2 hours, I could go 74 or 79. So I think he might be concerned that it will get shortened to an hour.
I will say there's no way they go less than 2 hours. That's crazy.
Matt side weigh-ins.
Yeah, I just don't think that's the case. Maybe that's what he said. Okay, well, either way, we don't know.
Yeah.
But we're going to know. I mean, how about him just being like, yeah, 28?
That was the coolest part of the whole thing. It was like, yeah, no, I'm in for 28. We're gonna go till LA. That's just awesome.
I'm shocked he said that because he started it by saying I was advised to go 1 year at a time, and then he was like, "But I'm going to go 4 more years."
Yeah, I love it, and of course he can obviously change, reevaluate, and he probably will. But I thought ever since I talked to him at the Olympics, right afterwards, I was like, he is definitely not done. There's never in my mind did I think Kyle Dake's going to retire. So it's great. I mean,
more Dake on the mat.
Yeah,
good for us. Or everybody, as a fan.
I didn't have to give my impassioned speech that I think he should go up.
I might be right. I might be wrong about the 2 hour
I
wait.
feel like you have to be wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't even make sense.
The chat is split. Some people think I'm right. Some people think I'm wrong.
Yeah. On the next segment of Tyler Meisinger, wrong again, and we all dump on you.
But
at least I immediately acknowledged it.
Regardless of what he said, I would be shocked if they shortened it. So anyway, I don't even want to talk about that anymore because that sounds insane. But yeah, pretty freaking awesome. We have a lot to get to.
Changing the weights this late in the game this year would be a crazy move.
There's no way they're changing.
Which is why
they're not changing.
Yeah.
It's weigh-in structure.
Or excuse me, weigh-in structure.
Yeah.
But it also sounded like he didn't know, even if he was, if everything stays the same and he goes up, will he go 79 or 86? That didn't even seem like it was.
No, that's what's
set in stone.
To me, I feel like 79 makes a lot of sense. He's just been successful there.
I want him to go 79 just so we see him at the U.S. Open.
Well, he doesn't have to. He can go to trials, right?
I want to see him compete twice, is what I'm saying, before Worlds.
It sounds like that will happen if he goes 79 or 86.
We'll know by April 15th if he's going 74 because that's the deadline for having to take your
and taxes.
And it's the deadline for taxes, and you have to pay the USA Wrestling tax of letting them know whether you're going to take your sit out at Final X.
April 15th. That's a lot of pressure. They have to file their taxes and they have to declare their Final X spot. The pressure. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, we are going to have the Hodge Trophy announcement with Brian Van Clay of Win Magazine. Incredible. So excited for that, and we've got a lot to talk about for on the transfer, on the portal side. We have some guys, new faces enter the portal, new faces enter the portal and committed. Where should we start, JD, in this crazy portal madness?
Let's start with our committed guys that announced where they're going. Let's start with Rocco Welsh announced he's going from Ohio State to Penn State.
Yeah.
That was to be rumored, but it's still a little bit surprising when you see it because that's going to be a crowded room.
Oh, yeah, no question. It was definitely, as soon as the rumor came out he's going in the portal, the immediate rumor following is that he's also going to Penn State, and you think, well, how's that going to work? They've got a number of different options at a number of different weight classes. But Rocco went on Justin's podcast, Bashamania, and basically talked about, the process of entering the portal. And, of course, back in December, big-time rumor, he's going in the portal to the point they put out a statement. He put out a statement that he's staying after talking with the coaches. And then immediately, as soon as the season's over, he goes in the portal and leaves and commits to Penn State. So he does not get specific with Justin on what did or didn't happen, but you can read between the lines that it sounded like Rocco wanted to wrestle this year, and they wrestled Carson and redshirt him, and then it was maybe he would go up. He didn't feel he was big enough, so he redshirted. Whatever the truth is sort of unclear, or whatever the actual reason is sort of unclear. But I will say, it was said on this show, you should not redshirt Rocco Welsh. When these guys are ready, they're rocking, they're in the rhythm of competing well, I think it does not make sense to shelf these guys. And I understand they're trying to fit pieces together with Carson coming back. But I think that you talk with coaches, most of them, they're saying, you got to wrestle these guys when they're ready. Rocco's ready. He's ready to really wrestle well at 174. He'd have been in the mix of that weight class, right? No question about it. He'd already made the finals as a true freshman. And so shelving him for a year, this is just worst case scenario for Ohio State. And whether it's because he was shelved and redshirted or not, this year did not go how Rocco wanted. And now he's gone. He's gone to, kind of worst case scenario for Ohio State, the team you're in recruiting battles with constantly. A guy is going from your school to their school. And he is citing, as one of the main reasons for going is like the training partners there are just sort of undeniable. And I think some people feel like they need to be in that. And I think he even said that, like, some people don't feel like they need to be in that to be their best, but I do, basically. Like, I feel like for me to be the best in the world, I need to be around these wrestlers. So he goes from a situation where his starting spot is assured to where he goes to Penn State. It's furthest thing from it. They've got Zach Ryder there. Carter Strachey's already tweeting about, that this incoming sort of collision is going to happen at 184 because Rocco put it out there. I want to go 184. Ryder's been there. Ryder looked really good. He won the scuffle. And then you've got 197 with Barr, and 174 you have Levi. So it's crowded, right? And it's quite a statement to see another guy go from they had a national champion. Like, Ohio State is one of the premier programs in the country, and he left and is going to Penn State.
Carter tweeting that is so insane, which is
why
it's
down.
Which is why, as an innocent party, like, I love it because it's just wild to me. But that guy is literally about to be. I know he won't be on Penn State. Carter won't be, but you're in the same room. You're basically teammates.
They'll
training together.
They'll figure that all out, I'm sure.
That's one thing you can say about Penn State is they are familiar with this type of dynamic. It's been going on for a long time, ever since they started winning championships with Kale, and then training guys for Olympics. Guys are competing in that room for the same spots. So it's certainly territory they've been through.
Yeah, what a week. They get Ono, Masa Ono, Jaden James, and Rocco Welsh all within a week. Pretty impressive stuff there.
I want to know how many times people that room is filled with literally everybody, and you can just kind of sit and be like, world champ, Olympic, boom, boom, boom.
The crazy thing is, like, predicting 184 next year, you could very well see like a Rocco versus Zach Ryder NCAA final or something. I mean, Max McAnally and Angelo Ferrari would have something to say about it, but like, it's kind of crazy that these two are going to be in a roster battle now.
Yeah, I wonder, like, doing like the room survey, like you're talking about, like, as you're ordering like the best wrestlers in there, like an NCAA finalist is when they're like the 19th best wrestler.
Yeah, when you stack everybody because you got so many gold medals.
Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, that's a crazy one, but there's a lot of other big ones too.
Yeah, I think the second most talked about, or maybe the most talked about one, was the Little Rock duo.
Yeah.
Of Jordan Williams and Nasir Bailey announced they're transferring to the University of Iowa.
Yeah, big pickups for the Hawks. You presume Nasir is going to be moving up weight class to 141. I never thought he was particularly big, but guys can build up sort of easily at those lighter weight classes. And then Jordan Williams fits in well at 149. These are two, if he's 41, then these are two good need weights, right, for Iowa, where they had holes. And that, Iowa is a team that is, for the foreseeable future, going to be heavily reliant on the portal if they want to contend for trophies, right? So you knew you're going to get some movement early on throughout the portal process because they don't have the recruiting on the high school side to backfill some of their graduations. They don't have the depth on the current roster. So these are they have to get guys like Nasir and Jordan, but the strategy is working, right? They were able to last year take need weights and turn them into strengths. And say what you want about the Parco and how it worked out with Teamer. Those were, Parco was good all year long. Got injured. Teamer was not the same guy. He was hurt basically the whole year. But Buchanan's a national champion. Caliendo has been a huge pickup. Franek the year before that. They've done well in the portal. And it's a reliable strategy. I don't know how, when I think, I'm just a planner and someone that like thinks long term. For me, like it would be so stressful being like, I don't know who my 25, 41, 49, 57, 97 are going to be next year. Like that has to be real stressful. But just like that, they filled 2 need weights. So I think when you're Iowa, it's less stressful.
It's also interesting. I mean, the Iowa factor is going to be the more looked at aspect of this, but the fact that they came from Little Rock, you can't talk about that program enough, going from not existing 6 years ago to now they've had 2 All-Americans 2 years in a row is just mind-boggling. And Nasir and Jordan have been coached up great, and they had great seasons, but they weren't the 2 All-Americans this year. Little and Bianchi were their guys. And so this is, I mean, it's kind of the fact of life of all sports. With NIL era, you have a smaller program with less resources, fact of life, and it's a feather in the cap of Little Rock that they're able to have guys like that are such sought after commodities. And, you know, unfortunately, you can't keep everybody on every team that they start out with, but I still think it's commendable for that program.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And I mean, obviously NIL played a factor here, like you said, and I can't hate on Williams and Bailey for, you know, making some money for themselves. Good for them.
Yeah. You have a short window in college, and the whole point of college is to figure out how to have a successful career, or one of the main points, and that's what they're doing.
And a lot of fans want to knock Iowa for using NIL money to get these guys, but that's a good thing, right? Like
I'd rather root for a team that has the money to spend.
Right, and you want money in the sport. Why is it a bad thing if a program has funds to spend? That's a good thing for the sport, I think. Although sometimes, you know, you feel for like Coach Neil Ayersman in Little Rock.
Yeah.
Like that really stinks. You know, you took these guys in. You took a chance on Jordan, you know, who was forced to leave Oklahoma State for getting in trouble. You took him in, kept him out of trouble, and turned him into a really good wrestler. Or not turned him into a really good wrestler. He was already a really good wrestler, but
get him back on track.
Yeah.
I mean, he wrestled better this year than he'd wrestled in his career.
Definitely.
That's undeniable. So yeah, I mean, good pickups for the Hawks. I'm sure there's more to come. They have needs, and there's guys in the portal that can certainly meet them, you know, where they're a little weaker.
Like 125.
Yeah, for sure.
Got Dean Peterson and Jory Volk now in the portal.
Yeah, those are 2 really big potential pieces for wherever they go, right? And similar to Little Rock for Wyoming, you feel for, you know, Coach Branch and company. They got Jory. Jory wrestled really well. He's, you know, been stupendous. He out this year for injury, and then now he's in the portal. And then for Dean Peterson, 1 year left. It sounds like the brick not being thrown in his Steve-O match was I don't know if it's even the straw that broke the camel's back. Like it's being like cited as an actual reason why he left. I don't, you know, and I remember that sequence vaguely. I watched it live. I don't remember thinking this is a bad non-brick throw, but either way, I don't know factually if that's the reason, but you know, secondhand I've heard that could have played a factor. But either way, I mean, this is a guy who pinned Richie Figueroa, national champion. He beat Luke Lillidahl, who will be the favorite to win NCAAs next year, along with Vince Robinson. You know, so those are 2 really good potential options for Iowa or other teams. And, you know, you think about who are the other teams with needs at 125 outside of Iowa, right? Because, like, in terms of power teams, like, obviously not Penn State. Obviously, Oklahoma State's got Spratley. You know, Ohio State's got McCrone. Would they be looking? I don't know. You know, what other teams could take advantage of someone like Jory or Dean entering their team?
It's definitely adds the recruiting never ends aspect to it, because now it's like, well, where one goes, then that'll, like, you know, eliminate an option for the other guy. And so the recruiting kind of, you know, when guys commit, and then it's like, okay, now the, you know, cascade of commitments start to happen. So it's going to be interesting to follow. They're kind of both linked now because they're both trying to fill the same weight class.
Right.
Being a D1 college head coach would suck
Forget it.
much.
Forget it.
Just like the amount of time and always on, like all of a sudden you hear this guy goes in the portal, and, you know, you got to be recruiting. Always, you were already always recruiting.
Yeah.
I feel like just adding this in and the whole NIL factor, it just makes your job 10x stressful.
Yeah.
And time consuming.
Yeah, it's not a good job for a warrior. And that's me.
If you want,
it would be bad.
High school wrestling stressed you out enough.
Oh, dude, my hair literally fell out of my head. I was so stressed. Freaking.
If you want long-term guarantees, you got to be ready to go.
Yeah.
Anything can come up at any day.
Yeah.
Another 125 who hasn't officially entered the portal, but was a little.
What does the walk emoji mean? Does that mean something?
I don't know.
Oh,
Okay.
Richie. Yeah.
Yeah.
He tweeted walk emoji and some dots.
Wow.
I mean,
Maybe
your
he just
head
likes
goes to like.
I'm walking
away. I'm going away.
He turned the comments off.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Maybe just like stirring the pot.
I might go for a walk later, and I'll just tweet that and be like,
Oh,
I just like walks.
Yeah.
Just exercise.
You do love walks.
I'm a big walker.
But you know what? He's not got out in front of it, right? Like you're a known walkman.
That's right. We don't know how much Richie. If there's good trails around him, who knows?
MF trail time.
It's trail time, baby.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all he's doing. But yeah, you're right. He hasn't really clarified.
Yeah, there's the tweet, and all the youths in there. You know, let me know what the walk arrow ... means. Never mind. Anyway,
the tweet's there.
Yeah, it's okay, Tyler.
Stun a man rich at Stun.
You don't have to talk to me. You can just keep doing the show.
I know, but it's yeah. Anyways, all right, where to next?
Do you think it would be wise for Richie to enter the transfer portal?
I don't know. I mean, if he doesn't think he can get better at Arizona State, then yeah, but you won a national title there.
Yeah, tough to get better than what he accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, you've already shown you can win NCAAs there. So what's beyond that, right? So, I mean, it depends on what you're prioritizing. Are you prioritizing, can I get to the highest level? And are you prioritizing NIL, or what is it? Do you just want to leave Arizona? I mean, I don't know. And who knows? We're just looking at tweets. This could mean anything.
We're trying to decipher hieroglyphics here.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of time, or recently, kids are always thinking the grass is always greener, right? And that's kind of the feeling with the transfer portal era, which is sometimes the case, but it's definitely not always the case.
Yeah, well, it doesn't guarantee anything, of course. It would be good to look at, now we have so much more portal data over the years. It would be fun to look at, like, just maybe this is a dumb way to look at it, but just like placement year before, placement year after, like how much has gone up for those that it applies to. Like someone like Mitchell, we don't have that because he didn't wrestle. Greg, you don't have that, but for most of them, they had like a varsity year prior. How did they do? Did they go up? Did they, it'd be good to look at. I think a lot of them.
Be on the lookout for that article.
Oh.
By tomorrow for this year's NCAA championships. You can find the past 2 years on www.FlowWrestling.
You should put them all in there. See if there's like the trend of like improvement versus non-improvement for all of them.
There really isn't a great trend overall. Most guys are about the same.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
You do like to stay on top of trends.
Some increase, some decrease, some stay the same. So overall, the trend is about to stay the same.
Right. Okay, there's some other guy. Who else is in the portal? I mean, Justin had the tweet where it was basically like you could have an all portal team and it would be pretty sick. 25 through heavyweight. I'm trying to think of the other.
There's definitely going to be more when we've barely been talking about the roster limits, but all the Big 10, Big 12, ACC, there's a couple SEC schools and Pac-12, there's Oregon State. They all have to opt in to the revenue sharing, which is going to cap wrestling rosters at 30.
Yeah.
And most of those big programs have more than 30 guys on their roster right now.
Right. And we've seen, I think some of those Penn State guys that hit the portal are definitely like probably roster cap casualties, if you had to guess. We talked about Swiderski. Yeah, we did, because that was the picture for FRL last week. Chittum, of course, in there. I don't know if we had talked about that. Hunter Katka. TJ Stewart, I think we did not mention. Oh, yeah, we did. We did, actually. All right, so we're kind of caught up on the portal beat. AJ Ferrari is the one that looms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you been hearing anything?
I think I said on the show last time, I think he's, my guess would be Iowa State, but who knows? I'm sure he is, after how he wrestled this year and conducted himself, getting certainly more interest than he got a year ago. So, but I don't know. I don't know where he's at. I'll just ask him. We'll see.
Did you see the photo of the little kid at the youth tournament doing the splits and the
double birding? Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's good that Double Birds has a nice wholesome meeting now.
Yes.
Yeah, I hit the Double Birds after my win. It's like, yo, that's not cool. And it's like, no.
No, it's now cool.
The Double Birds, not the other kind.
The Roadrunners.
Freedom Rockets.
Yeah, they're not Freedom Rockets. But yeah, what is? Yeah, I don't know what's new with him. I'll ask.
Definitely a lot of All-Americans in. Like the cap casualties, as you mentioned, that's, just a fact of the new world of revenue sharing, etc. But yeah, All-American at almost every weight, going back.
We still got Lachlan McNeil in the portal, too, who hasn't announced where he's going. Chittum, like you said. Facundo. It's another guy who...
Lachlan's got one more year, right? That's it?
I think so.
He's been pretty consistent, like 3-time All-American.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, guys that are, they redshirt in 3 years, that's 4 years. They probably all graduated, and now they're using a graduate transfer, which is a little bit more understandable, I guess, if you already got your degree.
Yeah, like a guy well, I guess even Cardenas is a little different because he literally couldn't stay at.
He couldn't.
Yeah.
They made him leave. It's the only reason he went to Michigan. He would never, ever, ever go to Michigan.
That is so crazy.
Is he going to get a bigger M tattooed than the C he has tattooed?
I think so, yeah. I think, Never mind. I was going to make a joke, but I don't want Cornell coming after.
Oh, no. You're going to go after Cornell?
There's a fine Michigan man on the Cornell coaching staff, so I will say no bad.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's true.
He was my coach, Kellen Russell.
He needs to get because Nashawn Garrett has the huge C on his.
Yeah.
Well, Kellen has the big block M on his bicep.
So just Kellen
just trade tattoos. Here you go. Peel it off. Hand it over.
Do you have any Loper tats?
No Loper tats.
Dang.
Man, even I have a Loper tat.
Yeah.
We all should get Loper tats.
I have tats of all of your schools. That's just the first thing I do.
If they win NCAAs 2 years ago, I will get a Loper tattoo.
2 years ago.
Dang.
Tough, dude. Rub that in.
JD's like, we got to. Oh, wait.
I'm not gonna lie. You had me in the first.
Kind of excited. Like, we got a shot here. Oh man, I want to tell y'all the Caleb story from the Hodge thing was so funny because I know I talked about it a little bit, but we're in the car after baseball and he's all excited and then he starts berating me about voting for Carter and then I'm like, well, you know what? I was like, here, he's like, what? He's like, what is this based on? He's like, he had the most pins. He beat Gable. Like, what else is there? And so I played him FRL, and he's like, I was like, so what do you think? I mean, and close. He's like, none of that even matters. He's like, all that stuff you were talking about doesn't even matter. And then he starts talking about the freshman thing. He's like, he couldn't get a takedown against Angelo. He went to overtime against McAnally, who's he goes, another freshman. I was like, what does it matter if they're freshmen? He goes, if it were a freshman against Wyatt, he would cook him. I was like, and that actually made me think. I was like, dang, that's honestly probably true. There's not a freshman that Wyatt wouldn't, as Caleb says,
would not have cooked. Yeah, chef is in the kitchen.
So it's just been funny. The reactions to my very public Hodge opinion is really taking a strong Twitter sentiment from the Oklahoma State fans, as I understand. I think,
and your own progeny, not just
and my own child, my own flesh and blood. Yeah, but it's what has been annoying about it is like people think I'm like a Penn State homer or something like that, or the weirdest thing is that people think that we're having the Win magazine, the Hodge Trophy announcement because that means it's Carter. Because I wouldn't have it the other way.
So you can party.
Yeah.
When the conspiracy theories come out, you're getting paid, or this conference, or that, and
well, that's like we wouldn't want to announce the Hodge Trophy if it wasn't who I've the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like it's such an honor to even have any sort of affiliation with the Hodge. I actually can't wait to find out, but I have a lot of questions about where should we go for the next. Oh, it's almost time.
Yeah, it's like 2 minutes.
Oh yeah,
it's time.
We could always do it a little bit earlier. I'll wait for the go ahead from our producer Josh if we're all ready to rock here. But
I'm glad you're having arguments with your son because it reminds me about wrestling because I have them with my dad all the
Yeah.
time. He's a big wrestling guy, and it's like neither of us have ever changed either's mind one iota, but we still talk about wrestling a lot.
Yeah.
But no one's budging from whatever stance they come to.
No, Caleb is absolutely immovable on all his takes. He won't wear any shirts other than the shirts of the team he likes. I get all these shirts.
Yeah, so he's
I'm like,
calling
hey,
you
you
a
want these
traitor.
shirts? These are cool. This is a really nice shirt. It doesn't really fit me. He's like, no, he won't do it. They're cool shirts. So I gave him to his little baseball buddy. I got a bag full of really cool shirts. So
we started a poll at the very beginning of the show, and I just left it up this whole time. It's got 884 votes.
Wow.
49% think Wyatt's going to win the Hodge. 44% think Carter, and 7% think Mitchell.
Yeah, and this is sort of kind of a good sampling of what the fan vote
looked like. Yeah,
It was like slight edge Wyatt over Carter,
And Mitchell distant third.
Yes,
We all love Mitchell.
we love Mitchell. He's a sophomore. He just
Was fan vote public?
Yeah, it's public. Cool. It's I went and checked this morning. But I'm being told by our producer Josh that our guest is ready, and we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm being joined by Brian Van Clay, the owner of the Win magazine. Brian, you've presented the Hodge Trophy over the years. First off, good morning. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you, Brian?
Good morning, guys. Thanks. It's a privilege to be on. We're extremely excited about the Hodge Trophy and excited to do it on Flow this morning.
Wonderful. And I want to get your perspective on a couple things before the big announcement. One, in your memory of the Hodge Trophy, do you remember a race, a competition, a vote that was quite like this one?
I don't ever. There has not been one that's been this heated and drama filled. As you guys know, the 2021 Dan Hodge Trophy race was extremely tight, extremely controversial, with passionate opinions on both sides between Gable Stevenson and Spencer Lee. We did end up doing a co-winner that year because our first place ballot vote came back tied. But I would say where that year was different than this year, guys, is, I think because the Wyatt Hendrickson upset over Gable Stevenson was a surprise to most people. Wyatt was on our contender list, obviously coming into the NCAA championships, but people would not have considered him a front runner in front of Carter, in front of Mitchell Messenbrink, or in front of Gable. And I even wrote in our early pre-NCAA issue about nationals and about the Hodge Trophy. I just really had a sense this was going to be both a drama-filled nationals as well as a drama-filled and intense Dan Hodge Trophy race to the end. And I wrote some about it in that article. But long answer to your short question, Christian, there hasn't ever been one quite like this, where we've seen so much online publicity and debate and debate among the national wrestling community. And just like there is with the Heisman Trophy, obviously that's a great sign for the sport of wrestling. It's great for the award. And most importantly, it's great for these three very worthy recipients who, I think in many, many, many years, if any of the three of them, if you would have put them up against the field, if you would have put their stats up against the field, these bonus point percentages and the way they went about their business as dominant NCAA champions from start to finish, from the beginning of the year to the end, was extremely impressive.
Now, there was a lot of, as soon as NCAAs ended, the camps started forming, right? And then there became a focus on the criteria, and the criteria have been amended since 2022 from 7 down to 4. How do you want people to look at voters or expect voters to interpret the criteria? Is it left sort of broad and it sort of up to their interpretation? Are the 4 categories to be equally weighted? I just kind of want your perspective on how voters and the fans should interpret the 4 criteria.
That's a fantastic question, Christian, and I'm glad you asked it on air. Going back to the award's namesake, Dan Hodge, he was the type of wrestler that when Hodge was in the building, he left no doubt who the best wrestler in the building was, who the best wrestler in the weight class was. based on his level of domination. And you guys, I know, have talked about the stats. People can go back and look at the stats, but Dan Hodge was a feared competitor to wrestle on the mat because of the results, because of the pinning, because of just his strength and his ability to score points. So since the very beginning, domination, pinning, and scoring points has always been the focus of this award. At the end of most every season, there are 2 to 3 to 5 guys, 6 guys that will finish the year undefeated who were dominant at times. But we really, over the last few years, as our committee has grown each year, adding a Dan Hodge Trophy recipient to the list, and continuing to get media feedback. Christian, I know you and I, a number of different times over the years, have had communications back and forth in regards to the criteria, how people should view it, what those criteria should be, and how it should be most simple for our Dan Hodge Trophy voting committee to cast their ballot each year, and also for the fans to digest and vote. We have really focused in on domination. Pins, as you mentioned, was one of the formal criteria until a few years back. Unfortunately, we're seeing that across the board in the sport, that less and less of these top guys pin anymore. And I think with the most recent rule changes of increasing the points for near falls and takedowns, that has only added to the decrease in pinning. So we really, when we went from 7 criteria to 4, wanted to put the emphasis on domination, and we wanted to clarify what domination looked like, which is why we have really from start to finish, once the criteria were clarified and simplified, published bonus point percentage all the way through, because that way you can see, if a guy wrestles 30 matches and he's got a 90% bonus point percentage, people can step back away from that stat and say, are you mean to tell me only 3 guys out of 30 for the year kept this guy from scoring bonus points? So I think pinning is still super, super important to a lot of people that vote. And that's wrapped into that second criteria of dominance bonus point percentage. So first and foremost is record. Obviously, most every year there's going to be a guy that finished the season undefeated and was very dominant. Second being dominance bonus point percentage. And then third adds in a level of subjectivity, but obviously it's a very important one, guys, and that's quality of competition. You can have some guys obviously at a weaker weight class that may have a quite a bit higher or a slightly higher bonus point percentage, or they may have gotten more pins or more techs, etc. So adding in really strength of schedule. I was listening to some of you guys' conversation here a few minutes ago, obviously with your conversation with your son, starting to look at really the stats before our Hodge Trophy committee members vote. We really encourage them to look at strength of schedule, look at who they wrestled, who they beat, not just in the NCAA tournament when people remember it the most, but all the way back to November. Hodge really left that legacy on the sport as being the guy that you didn't leave the building when he wrestled, because it was going to be very clear he was at a level far above the opponents in his weight class. So we have always really focused on those level of things, and that's been the primary focus of the criteria and how we've continued to remind and try and encourage our Hodge Trophy committee members to vote. And then the final one, guys, sportsmanship is just one of those things you'd love it each and every year if the Dan Hodge Trophy winner as the Heisman Trophy of wrestling is an excellent representative of the sport of wrestling and somebody that you would want your sons and daughters to have as a hero and a role model. So those are the 4 criteria. As we've done since the beginning of the award, we continue to remind people it's a single season award, just like the Heisman Trophy. You're not leading the Heisman race at the start of the year because you had 22 touchdowns as a quarterback the previous year. So the previous year's stats, we clarified that in the criteria, but we've always stressed to people that the Hodge is primarily based on single season statistics. So it's been very, very interesting to hear, obviously, all the online debate. I think the last thing I would add, Christian, to that question that you asked that is really interesting as we get to obviously here in a moment on who won the Hodge is, as you've talked about a lot online, which we appreciate, Christian, your transparency in regards to your Hodge vote. who you think should win the Hodge and how you evaluate those criteria is your opinion, and that affected your vote. How that affects TJ Jaworski's vote as our first Hodge winner, how that affects Jordan Burroughs' vote, how that affects Jake Herbert's vote, how that affects other media members' votes. We send out the ballot to those people. The criteria are always listed. We remind them it's a single season award. We list as many stats as possible on that ballot. But at the end of the day, who Cale Sanderson votes for, who Les Gutches votes for, who Ben Askren votes for when they submit their ballot is going to be, in their mind, what they think it should mean to be a Dan Hodge Trophy winner, and based on what the award stands for and what it's always meant to them. So I think that's what makes this process great and healthy is, we have about 55 people submitting votes based on who they should win it. And then you have a robust fan vote from the national wrestling community with their votes. And then we get to the ultimate winner.
Well, I have no more questions. I can wait no longer, Brian. I just want to kick it to you. However you want to do it. Who is the winner of the 2025 Hodge Trophy?
Thanks, guys. So for the second closest race in the 31-year history of the Dan Hodge Trophy, the 2025 Win Magazine Culture House Dan Hodge Trophy, presented every year by our awesome sponsor, A6 Wrestling, is Wyatt Hendrickson from Oklahoma State.
Wow.
He had 30 first-place votes. Congratulations to Wyatt. He had 30 first-place votes. Carter Sirachi had 26, and Mitchell Messenbrink had 3.
Wow. So really the fan vote played a huge role in that because it was pretty close up to the very end, and then the fan vote wound up swinging it for Wyatt. That is unbelievable.
It was really unbelievable, and I think probably very symbolic of what we saw as an incredible, unbelievable collegiate season and an unbelievable end to it. It was just really interesting over the few days last week as votes were coming in from the Hodge Trophy voting committee and the fan vote guys, just to see how close they were all the way through. And as you said, the Hodge Trophy, both fan vote and voting committee, the fans really put Wyatt over the top. He ended up with just over 16,000 votes.
Wow.
16,001 verified votes. And Starachi ended up with 13,108. Mitchell Messenbrink with just under 4,000. So about 33,000 votes, one per email, verified votes through our system. And Wyatt's additional 3,000 or 3,900 over Carter made a big difference and got him some additional votes. And you ended up with the 30-26 final vote tally.
Now I'm a little jealous of your position. Are you able to you're getting the votes in real time? And you're like, oh, okay, Carter's up 3 and then a big swing. Was it kind of like that?
It was kind of like that. And it is super fun and super interesting to see the votes come in, to see different people's opinions and perspectives, which really, back to the article that I wrote in our early March issue, I'd certainly, appreciate and love for people to check it out. I wrote about that, Christian, because I think that's one thing that people forget. This isn't a popularity contest. This isn't, you hear all this stuff online, right? This isn't a career award. Different people have definitions of what best wrestler means. This goes to the most dominant collegiate wrestler that year, as voted on by this committee, that we feel very, very strongly about in regards to their opinions. So it's really important to remember that, like I said, people like Kyle Dake, I listened to the first part of your show. Kyle did an amazing job. Kyle has an opinion on what the Dan Hodge Trophy stands for and what it should take to win it. And he votes for who he thinks should best get it every year, as does every person of that 50 to 55 person committee. So it's really a process we're very, very proud of. We believe in, we feel like we're going to get the right winner every year. By the way, the process is structured. And back to your point, Christian, yes, seeing those votes come in and seeing who Spencer Lee voted for or Gable Stevenson voted for. I will remind viewers, that each of those winners gets one vote for each year they won the Dan Hodge Trophy. So Ben Askren got 2 votes, Spencer Lee got 2 votes, Gable Stevenson got 2 votes, Cale got 3 votes. So seeing the tallies accumulate as they come in for all 3 guys was really fun.
Well, unbelievable. And Wyatt, obviously an incredibly deserving winner, and was really the story out of what was, as you described it, an unbelievable and a shocking NCAA tournament from start to finish. So what is next for the Hodge Trophy? Are you going to like give it to him at a football game or something cool like that? Is he going to fly in on a jet or a helicopter, you know?
So there's typically two presentation points, one internal, a bit more internal, if you will, with the individual school's respective wrestling community at their spring banquet. It's looking like Oklahoma State's is going to be this week, Thursday. So that's quickly approaching us. If that's when it will be, obviously we will be down there to make the official presentation to Wyatt then. And then, as you alluded to, Christian, we always do it a second time publicly in front of the school's larger athletic community at a fall home football game, which is always a ton of fun. And it's just great for the student athlete, for wrestling to get that standing ovation. You know, last year it was at the Penn State whiteout game against Washington. Last year's national runner-up in front of 111,000 people, or however many crazy Nittany Lion fans in white they pack into that building. But to see that athlete get a standing ovation in front of 111,000 people and to hold the Hodge, you know, above their head and get duly recognized for a sport like ours that doesn't oftentimes get the pats on the back and the recognition that basketball and football get is a pretty awesome thing.
Awesome indeed. Brian, we are, I can't tell you how thankful I am, how grateful I am that you were able to come on here and present and announce the winner. What an incredible college season, and what an incredible winner. Anything else before we let you go, Brian?
Flo, I just really appreciate you guys as a staff. I know you guys talk about it a lot. You love it. Christian, you've told me how many times you value you guys' part in the process. We just appreciate you guys' coverage of it, appreciate you guys' coverage of wrestling, and just thank everybody for engaging in the Dan Hodge Trophy voting process, and appreciate all the fans that turned out on our website to vote this week.
We'll certainly appreciate you, Brian, and Win Magazine, your staff there. We'll be seeing you soon. It's freestyle season, Brian, so I'm sure we'll be seeing you at the Open and Trials and Final X and everywhere in between.
A new chapter starts. Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thank you, Brian. Have a great day. So there you have it. Hodge Trophy winner 2025, Wyatt Hendrickson. Unbelievable. I mean, a buzzer beater, just like his NCAA finals victory.
What did he say the final votes were again?
30-26.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the fan vote's worth 5.
Yeah. No one, this is definitely someone who came from like a dark horse to win. Like, he was not, everyone would just assumed it would be Stevenson if it was going to be a heavyweight.
Yes.
And then all that changed in just the final period of that match.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
He went from not winning the NCAAs to being the Hodge Trophy winner.
Yeah.
You got to wonder if there's some Penn State fans kicking themselves for voting for Mitchell instead of Carter in this.
Split the vote.
Well, that obviously did it.
If Carter got all Mitchell's votes, he would have won.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's a they talk about being a victim of your success.
Yeah.
Or this happened in at the Heisman for the Heisman with 2 Miami. It was like Willis McGahee and I think Ken Dorsey was the quarterback's name. They were 2 of the 3 or 4, and they basically split.
Yeah.
And then I forget who won.
And you can't, it's not like one of them could just like step down and say, I'm no longer running for.
Yeah, I yield my Hodge candidate.
Yeah, I donate all of them to this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Do that.
But I mean, it is kind of it was one for me where like you kind of you feel a little icky no matter which way.
No matter what,
you throw your support. Like, Caleb made me feel really like I messed it. You know what? It worked out how it worked out, but if I had voted for Wyatt and Carter had won, I'd be like, man, Wyatt, what else could Wyatt have done to win the Hodge? What else could Carter Starachi have done? But I love that, there was one winner, right? And they went with, and another thing that Brian also didn't bring up with the Spencer Gable co-Hodge year, it was like those seasons were so short. Like you didn't get the glut of data, I think, to really make an informed decision. Whereas this year, both these guys wrestled their seasons. an unbelievable conclusion to an unbelievable year.
Good Hodge Cowboy.
Good Hodge Cowboy. Wow, you too.
Jinx.
Oh man, that's so awesome. Oh man, how incredible! What a great year. It feels like. Does it now feel like the NCAA season is now officially over? It feels like this is it.
Yeah.
Because this was like the last thing, and now it's like everything else is about what happens next year.
Yeah.
Like it's like this is the final bow on the NCAA season. It's the Hodge Trophy winner. It's the coolest.
Yeah.
It's the coolest award in wrestling, right? I love it. And
#1.
Yeah, it is the #1 award, and so. I don't know. It's definitely a dream for me to have it announced on this show. And I don't know if there's anything else to say other than congratulations to Wyatt and the Oklahoma State fans that vigorously supported him and voted for him. And it's interesting because a lot of people, I got texts, Carter's going to win. All the Penn State votes are going to be consolidated. For every Penn State vote there's a non-Penn State. There's 25 total ballots, and I think Penn State has. If you look at people affiliated or at Penn State, it's not over half of that. So
I wonder.
David Taylor was voting for Wyatt.
Yeah, and there's 2, and he has 2.
Yeah.
If Cale has 3, how does he split them up? Because he can't even do it evenly to his guys.
Wait, that's kind of crazy. David Taylor is the swing for that because it's a 4-point swing.
Yeah.
All goes back to the singlet pull.
Good swing, Cowboy.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyways, wow, what a show. My mind's just kind of spinning. I'm thinking about Dake and his future, what he's going to do. I'm thinking about this. So it is 11:35.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say good show, Cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats to Wyatt. Congrats to Carter. Congrats to Mitchell, but especially Wyatt for bringing it home, winning the Hodge Trophy. We will be back on Thursday. This show's got a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
We're gonna try our darndest to top it. How about that? How's that for a goal? Ambition.
Congrats to the show.
Congrats to the show. Thanks to Josh Skurnick, our producer, to Tyler, Spay, JD, Kyle Dake, Brian Van Clay, and all of you for listening. Thank you so much. See you next Thursday. Have a great Monday. Goodbye.